Welcome back to this Pulse Geelong special from Diana the Exhibition. In part 2 of my conversation with Darryn Lyons, I ask him about some of his favourite photographs currently on display at the Elephant and Castle. Amongst the exhibition, there's over 60 photographs of Princess Diana. Do you have some that are your absolute favourites?
Yeah, I do. Have particular favourites. There's one actually in the red dress up there where just before I took that picture, I'll never forget it. She said, and hello Mr. Lyons, how are you this evening? And I was the only photographer down there in Wales at the time. And just the glint in the eye and the wink that she gave me, she was obviously in a very, very good mood that day. I love the one of Mother Teresa, and some of my favourites, particularly the sports day with Prince William holding his willy. Willie holds his willy was a good caption for that one. And just the boys getting up to mischief. The other great one was in the south of France where Harry got out the long lens and reversed the fortunes of the paparazzi, which is a really famous picture. And there's so many different stories where, you know, I remember great stories. The Princess of Wales, when she was holidaying on Necker and they decided to in the morning, Ken Wharf tells this great story of where they made one of the old catapult machines with water balloons, and as the royal entourage of paparazzi came sailing in on their very expensive hired boats from across the water, everyone was bombarded with water balloons, and that was the kids' trick that they were desperate to do in the morning to water bomb the paparazzi, which proved to be extremely successul. So there was a lot of fun, but there was also a lot of sadness in her life that you could see. So you could, Diana had a different day. There's no doubt that she was a very up and down human being. She, at times, you could see she was mentally tortured. I saw it a lot. Towards the latter, towards the breakup and after the breakup. She was really a woman that wanted to fly the nest. She wanted freedom more than anything else.
Obviously, you've travelled a lot following her as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed, yeah, all over the world. I was in Bosnia at the time. I did 2 tours of Bosnia during the war. The Princess of Wales, I actually didn't photograph her on that particular tour. Mike did that particular tour, but around Europe. Mainly, my stuff was done in London. Whether it be at Royal Ascot, whether Fergie and her used to have a lot of fun with their umbrellas, poking the aristocracy.
So you were there back in those days, in the early 80s or the mid 80s?
Late 80s. I was there from 88. Yeah. I shot Diana. I arrived in 88 in London, and photographed her right up until the last moments that she was on this planet.
Can we talk about that for a second? Where were you when you heard the news?
I know exactly where I was, and I was probably one of the first in the world to know. Certainly, I was. I got the phone call from the photographer at the scene of the accident, probably before police were called. So I was monitoring what was going on at the Ritz that night. I had several phone calls. I was at home in my Kensington house, watching, I think the movie was Heat with Robert De Niro, and it was around about, 10 o'clock. And I remember then when I'd heard the news, it was pandemonium. I raced out on my mobile phone straight into my offices, which were in the City of London under St Paul's Cathedral, and started to phone editors on the way, and no one believed me. It was quite ironic, really, that I phoned every editor, and in those days you'd get tipped off for big stories, for big money, and I think the tipping fee on that particular story was £10,000, which to let people know, and then it wasn't confirmed by any wire services, and I was pleading with the editors. I said, it is true. I've got guys that are there, that are my agents in France, and there's been an accident. At that time, for many hours, for at least 5 or 6 hours, till the early hours of the next morning, I walked through the night, called in a number of my staff, one loyal member of staff, Dave, in particular, because it was an extremely sensitive situation. It wasn't, we thought she was concussed with a broken arm, and we didn't think she had any serious injuries whatsoever. So I was then on the phone to the then editor of News of the World, being offered multi-millions. Well, I think Rupert Murdoch was on a jet or Concorde flying from New York back to London. And while he was talking to Mr. Murdoch, I was negotiating with him on what the fee for the world exclusive would be. And then, of course, came the horrendous announcement that in the very early hours of the morning that the Princess of Wales had passed. And all of a sudden, the pictures were withdrawn off the market worldwide.
And it's reported that obviously you still have a lot of those pictures and they're never to be released.
In my lifetime, I've said that they are in safe havens around the world, and in my lifetime, I have never felt the need, unless someone came to me with a seatbelt campaign, and which would be pretty gripping. No, I've been offered tens and tens of millions on certain occasions throughout the years, for the pictures, and no, I've said no.
We'll be right back after the break with more from Diana, the exhibition.